Good morning, everyone. This is a mighty full room. It's great to see all the faces. Thank you for everyone for being here today and for listening to my story. Kind of a tough one. I began dating the man who is now my ex-husband when I was 20 years old. Within a year, we had married and we moved to Georgia. 2 months later, I was pregnant with our first child. His alcohol binges and gaslighting began almost immediately. When he lost his license, I was 8 months pregnant and responsible for driving him everywhere. I still remember how he pulled the car up to the hospital door after my daughter was born. The staff helped me into the back seat, next to my precious baby. We drove away. Then he had to pull over so I could drive us home. He left my newborn in the back seat by herself. He forced me to cover up secrets like this for years. Not long after that, we had moved back to New Hampshire. Things got steadily worse, but I felt like I had no options. I was no longer working, and he reminded me day in and day out that he was the breadwinner and I was just a mom. Everything, our bank accounts, credit cards, our one vehicle, our apartment were all in his name. I had nothing except the shame that my family was crumbling. Shortly after having our second daughter, we were evicted from our apartment and moved in with one of his family members. Our lives reached a whole new extreme, physically and verbally. I decided to leave the day he pinned me up against the wall and threatened my life and the lives of my children. I knew I needed to get out immediately, but I didn't know how. I headed towards Bridges, the crisis center in Nashua. On my way, I noticed a sign for a lawyer's office inside of what looked like a house. I knew I could barely afford to live, let alone pay for an attorney, but something pulled me to that door. My mind was racing with questions and what ifs. I know I was distraught. I can only imagine how I looked, because the woman at the front desk could tell I needed to talk to somebody immediately. She set me up on the phone with Kathy Chandleris. I would have never have known legal aid even existed without Kathy. She told me about the DOVE program, how I could access free legal aid help through Bridges. Although Kathy wasn't my initial DOVE attorney, the attorney I was assigned was amazing. She helped me get a protective order, a temporary parenting plan, and initial child support. I never would have been able to do any of that by myself. Kathy also told me to apply for pro bono for my divorce, and as luck would have it, she was assigned my case. My highest hopes were only to keep my kids safe from their abusive father. That in itself was going to be a feat. New Hampshire law aims to keep families together whenever, through equal parenting time or through visitations. Neither of those would be safe for my children, given the nature of the threats and the extent of the violence my ex had displayed. In the end, we secured my children's safety by requiring their biological father to get the help he needed and demonstrate clearance from medical and psychological professionals before he could request a change in his parenting plan. This was a challenge, but it was the best option for myself and for my children. Kathy and the civil legal aid system were constantly in my corner. Through a series of restraining order violations, grandparent right petitions, and various other legal challenges. Finally, a calm in the storm came. I survived. My children survived. And then Kathy approached me about the new board being formed for 603 Legal Aid. I was so excited to serve my community in a program which quite literally saved my life. Of course, I had my initial reservations. I've been in a lot of courtrooms, but I'm not a lawyer. But I knew if I could help even change one other person's life, just one person who had walked in my shoes, it would be worth it. I have always considered myself to be a very smart and strong-willed, but somehow I let a man knock me down little by little. It happened without me even realizing it, over a period of 6 years. But slowly, with the help of my community, I put the pieces back together. I'll be the first to admit, without legal aid, I would not be here. Please, think about that. I think about it every day. Without legal aid, I would not be here. Something I knew nothing about, quite literally saved my life. My hope is to save many more lives, and I know we can do it together. Please consider making a donation or volunteering your time to support our community. Thank you.